How am I supposed to create videos in this weather? Right, so this week, blanket weed, a little bit of an idea I had going for something similar to a Tempest I've been working on. Do I get a Tempest? Do I do something different? Do I keep using my floss? Tried to combine that, and I'll show you that a little bit later. But at the moment, yeah, blanket weed. Pain in the bum. The covers are coming off a little bit more often now because the weather's getting better. So as the covers are getting off, sunlight's getting in, promoting the blanket weed, so I've got to start treating that. So I've got the Old Faithful out. This is what I use, clover leaf, blanket answer. So I'm going to wang that in now. I think I've caught it early enough to be able to say I only need a half dose, because I hate putting, literally my pond is like half this tub, and that's a lot of product to go in. Obviously it'll deal with it and it'll do it, but it messes my filters up, and oh man, just loads of product in there, and you know, so what can you do? So I try to catch it early enough and give it a half dose. So I'm going to get the half dose in today, and then this video will run over a couple of weeks, and then we'll get cracked on there. The other thing is, I've been meaning to show you for a little while, is a little idea I was working on in my head over winter with one of my biochambers. Because of me only running my air sort of over certain times, I'll be doing a few trials on different bays. So I'll show you what I found when I left one of my bays unaired for 3 or 4 days. I was airing everything else, but one bay I left separate. And I'll show you the results of that later as well, because that's quite interesting as well. So let's get some stuff done and crack on. So now my pond is over 10 degrees. I think about 11.5 now. Yep, 11.5 degrees. Oh, come on, summer. Nearly here now. It's time to, you can start putting a lot of different treatments into your pond. If you read a lot of the instructions, the majority of them say your ponds need to be over 10 degrees. One of which is blanket weed treatments. So this is, I've mentioned this before, I do use this. I've tried and tested that if I catch it early enough, you can kind of put this stuff in a smaller dose and catch it early to save messing your filters up. And a lot of people with things like drum filters have problems with this stuff because it creates this powder residue that gets stuck in your drum filter, apparently. I've not had one, but this is what I've been hearing. So I'm wondering if maybe if drum filter owners can use smaller doses, maybe that would help. I don't know. Don't knock it till you've tried it. School day. So we're going to waz in a smaller dose of this today. It says you're supposed to put it in a watering can and mix it up, but I just stick it in my Pond Life mixing tub and just evenly distribute it throughout the pond. And I'm going to leave it for a couple of weeks, because with this stuff, I found with this stuff, this is the first time I ever used this. You have to put, with my pond, it's a half tub, so it's half of the product that comes in this container needs to go into my pond with the volume of water. So I did that the first time. Chucked it in, gave it a week, nothing happened, so I chucked the other half in, gave it another week, still nothing happened. I was almost going to buy some more, and I thought, how much more could I put in? And then all of a sudden, the blanket weed started disappearing. But I had put the whole of the tub product in over 2 weeks. So of course my filters were like a mess. They were just full of this creamy residue stuff that had gathered in the filters, which was a pain in the backside to clear up. I was cleaning up filters almost every day for 2 weeks, so got over that now. That was a nice little school day for me. Live and learn. This stuff, because it's biological and it's got these minerals and enzymes in there that slowly reduce your blanket weed. So don't go like put it in, poof, gone. It takes time to work. So we're going to put this stuff in, and then we're going to give it a couple of weeks, and then we're going to come back and have another log, because I've got some other things in the video I want to show you as well. So I'm going to get this wazzed up, put it in, and give it a couple of weeks. Boom, couple of weeks later, and yeah, I've noticed that it's obviously taking some of it off. I've got loads of wasted blanket weed that's been just come off the sides basically now and come into the filter system. So there's loads of that to get out of the filter system at some point between now and, I don't know, maybe tomorrow. What I have noticed is that it's still taking its time getting the rest of the blanket weed off the side. There's loads of clumps floating around now, so it's doing the business. But what I've also noticed, because I'm keeping an eye on the sort of the water side, obviously as we all do anyway, is that I'm getting a lot of time to take the covers off now. Now the weather's getting a lot better. You know, it won't be long now before these covers are off permanently. But I'm finding that because I'm taking the covers off a lot more often now, I'm getting like a film of stuff on the top of the pond. So I think it's time to kick in my floating pond skimmer. Now, if you obviously I've spoken about this before. I've got the Oasi, I think it's the 50. I don't know which. It's this one. So I've got that in my pond. I've had it there for 12 months or so now. And the thing is, with these Oasi floating skimmers, is that you have to balance them. You have to sort of weight them down a little bit because they float. They sort of the pump in them is quite a good strong pump. They blow air out as well as bringing water in, skimming off the top of your pond. So because of that, so every now and again they empty and they pop up and cause you a pain in the backside. So I had to get hold of something to weigh it down. So I got this pebbly stone thing out the garden, and I put it in a tray that goes into the unit. And then I just fill this with filter floss, because I find the filter floss is quite good if you put sort of like, you know, you get this the thinner stuff. I've forgotten what this is, but anyways, it's dead good, cheap as chips stuff. This just poke the hole in that. As you can see, I've taken out the usual blue thing that they have in there, the like the filter thing. Take that out, get rid of that. That's no good to man nor beast, really, in my experience. So so I usually put a couple of pieces of filter floss into here and just sort of waz that down into there so it catches any smaller particles, and chuck it in and see what happens. So let's get this in, get it fitted back in the unit, get it turned on and see what we can collect. Right, let's get it turned on. Right, that's interesting. Look at that. Just got loads of like this brownie stuff coming off the top. So I don't know what that is, but anyway, that's all that's been sitting on top of my pond since God knows when. So we've been starting to take the tops off now and getting all this stuff, dust, pollen, whatever it is. But it's on the top of my pond, so I'm going to just continue to let this run and see how much we can get out. Right, so there you go. Whew, I tell you what, if you haven't got a skimmer, you want a floating skimmer. Fantastic machine. I mean, if you've just seen for yourself how much rubbish take off, within literally seconds of me turning it on, it sort of draws everything over to one corner. I usually place mine just in the corner then, don't let it go from that corner. So it draws everything out from the pond, straight into the filter floss, and then you just literally pick that thing out, chuck your filter floss in the bin and replace it and stick more in again. So that's what I'm going to do from now. Right, back to the blanket weed. Just a bit of a side track there with the floating skimmer. So let's have a quick look underwater and see how this blanket weed treatment's doing. Now that looks better. That looks a little bit better, doesn't it? It started taking them all off again. So yeah, so looking quite good, that is. Let's hope that it just gets the rest of it off over the next week or so, because you guys got to be patient with this stuff, because it does take a while to kick in. First time I used to put half the tub in, measured dose, in it went. Week later, not moved, chucked the rest in, wrecked my filters. So you got to be kind of patient with this stuff. Pond temperature's looking good at the moment as well. We're up to sort of 11 degrees now. So I'm feeding my spring mix to the fish now. Get another bucket of feed, because I'm getting dead low on the feed now. So as soon as I can get these guys back up and running with their feed, looking good. There you go. Right, here's an interesting one for you. I've been meaning to show you this for weeks. Viewers that have been with me for a while know that through winter I don't use my air in my system for 24 hours a day. I need to do it sort of 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And I've been trying over the last few weeks to leave the air off completely and just see what happens. And nothing happened really. Same old thing. Fish are still alive, no gasping for air. I don't know how good it's done the beneficial bacteria, but I can't test for that, so I've no idea. Anyways, what I found while I was doing these sort of background tests was the KK1000 media, which is like your K1 or your K1 plus, whatever that K stuff is. Anyway, the KK1000 moving media for beneficial bacteria has been working like a Tempest. So if I leave this bay, this one, if I leave that bay for 2 or 3 days, and just put air elsewhere. So I can put air in the pond, put it through the jet matting, wherever. It acts like a Tempest and collects rubbish and then sends it through when I'm ready to blow air in to get it through. So I've noticed that through. It's not something I'd use through the summer, obviously. So I want to use it again as a biological area for my beneficial bacteria. So it's just something that I saw over winter when I was sort of doing little tests, as I do. As happens on Koi Pond Lifestyle, because that's what we do here. I just sort of like try a few things. Anyways, so that's what I've been seeing, and I'm going to show you today what it does. So I've left this KK1000 moving media bed. I've left it for 3 or 4 days now, and I'm going to kick the air in, as you do in a Tempest, to flush through any waste. But this type, I won't be wasting water. So you know in a Tempest when you flush, you've chucked the air through it and it all bubbles and does whatever, and then you empty it, wasting gallons of water. Then you fill it back up, you empty it again, or whatever you do. I've never had one, so I don't really know. But what I've seen is you waste a lot of water. Not here. We don't like wasting water here. So, so I've been letting this stew for a little bit for 3 or 4 days, and we're going to kick the air in a second. I'm going to replace the filter floss in my jet matting bay where I usually put it. Lovely clean spot, and then I'm going to fire up the air and then see how much rubbish has been sitting in my multimedia, like a Tempest does, but it doesn't waste any. So let's give that a go now. That was cool, wasn't it? Dead nice. There you go. So yeah, I just used it as a Tempest over the last few weeks, just to try things. But I'm now wondering how I can make that work going forward, but still have it using, but still use it as like as a biochamber for the beneficial bacteria. Interestings. Okay, that's an interesting one. One more thing as well. I've had a message from a channel viewer who was talking about when I put my Sky Pond back on and how I take the air out of it. So I just said, yeah, sure, we'll just, usual stuff. Just get your length of hose pipe, stick it up in the tube and suck the air out. And he said, what about a Venturi? A Venturi? Anyway, what about that method of taking it out, and can you build one? That's going to be interesting, isn't it? A Venturi. It's like a suction thing where you've got a pipe and a T-piece in the middle, and when you blow air across it, you either draw air out or you draw fluid in. A bit like a spray gun, they have the spray guns when they spray in cars. Interesting. I think we're going to have to do some experimenting, because this will be an interesting one. If I can get something, because it won't be long now before my Sky Pond goes back on, and I'm going to need a quicker, easier method, as David's been asking, because he's sick to death of using his hose pipe to suck the air out. I think he's back on now actually as well. Looks dead smart. Fish will be eating nicely. So yeah, Venturi. Anyway, we need to look at that and get one of them working, because but how would I get something like that to work over there without using something mechanical to get it done? Need to look at that. This Koi Pond Lifestyle, we can do it. So if you're interested in any of the products I've been using or any of the equipment I've been using today, I'll stick the links in the description below. And also, if you're interested in how I've been getting my pond ready for spring, you can click on this video here and it'll tell you all about how I've done that as well. Thanks very much for watching Koi Pond Lifestyle.